Hello, this is Heather Connor, and this is my Week 7 weekly summary for Physics 112. I started the week by going to the announcements and got a little freaked out, I must admit, that on Monday of this week we were told that our solar panel was due by Sunday of this week. And so I wrote David an email asking if that had changed from the date that was on the syllabus. Shortly thereafter, that evening, David announced that he had misread the syllabus and that he would readdress the due date for the solar panel project later, which was great. Gave me more time and more confidence that I could get things done the way they needed to be. On Tuesday, he posted the new due date, which was on by midnight on the 17th. Before the new due date was announced, I did send my team all an email asking them for their information to come to me by Saturday before the project is due, so that I had ample amount of time to get the final presentation together. Now that was with the understanding that the due date was today, which it is not, so I need to send another email ensuring that everyone gets me their information and plenty of time to make a good presentation to submit to David. On top of that, there was another little snafu with the discussion board. The discussion for the week with Boys in Gaming blocked the postings for the NEAT resource and the weekly summary links. So I posted on the discussion board in the course questions list, board about that, me not being able to see them, and there was an announcement on Saturday about those being available now. So that was all the announcements for the week. Because there wasn't a lot of new material and it was basically finalizing the solar panel project and a couple of little things, I don't have a lot in my journal. I actually only have a page or so of new material in my journal. I expect that as I finish building my solar panel, there'll be more to write. But this is the page of my journal that I've added for the week, and that's all for today for that. So that was my journal. For the Boys and Gaming lecture or discussion, I did watch the video and then posted a response. This is my response here. I obviously, not being a male, it's hard to judge whether my beliefs in what the topics was all about are legitimate, but I had a problem and some heartburn about some of the statements made by the presenter. She's very well spoken, she made good points, but there were some things that I just didn't quite agree with. And I'm a little bit different than some of the other students that have posted so far in that I'm supportive of zero tolerance in our schools. One of the examples given in the video was about an Eagle Scout who had a penknife in his locked car that was on school grounds. And I understand how that penknife doesn't necessarily pose a direct threat to anybody while it's locked in the car, but my belief is I don't understand why that Eagle Scout needs the penknife in his car in his first place on school grounds. We are expected as adults to follow certain rules about weapons and things in public places. You're not allowed to bring any weapons into a courthouse, for example. So I don't see why children should not be held to the same standard in terms of just because it's locked in a car and it doesn't pose a danger means that it's okay to have it on school grounds. That's just one example for my response. In addition to my written response, I also commented on some other people's responses, and you can find those on the discussion board. Beyond that, I also did my NEAT resource for the week. And if I go here and scroll down and go to NEAT resources, my NEAT resource is here, and it's a YouTube video that discusses what solar cells are, how they work. It explains electricity batteries and how solar cells serve as a type of battery. There's a lot of animations that are in the video. I thought it was really useful in general about how solar energy works and how solar cells can be used. And here's just a little bit of that video.
Good morning here in the Upper Ottawa Valley, but even on a cold morning like this, the sun is flooding the forest with energy. The Earth's tilt this time of year reduces the energy falling on horizontal surfaces, but an object at right angles to the sun's rays is receiving approximately 1,000 joules of energy per second per square meter. That means that each square meter receives power at the rate of 1,000 watts.
I thought this video was very good because it used a lot of the terminology that we've been learning in class and explained a lot of it. So that was my NEAT resource. In addition to posting my NEAT resource, I did respond to and watch and visit all of the other NEAT resources that have been posted so far and responded to each of those. Beyond that, for the week, what I also did was I started doing some additional research on the controversial debate topics and finding some sources for my responses for those. I researched immunizations this week, stem cell research, and nuclear energy. And I have many articles, websites, and other sources to use. So this is about vaccinations and the pros and cons and the results of whether or not people opt out of immunizations. I have sources for nuclear energy, talks about mortality rates, whether any of the concerns about it are legitimate, and how we shouldn't phase it out just yet. Those are just some of my pro and con sources. And stem cell research. I do have a number of sources, academic sources, to use for my debate topics for that. So that's the smaller portion of what I've done for the week. The bigger portion for the week was definitely the solar panel project in general. So I finalized my plans on a design, and it's a hybrid between this website that I found here, where it's putting all of the solar cells in series and then using that energy, and then a YouTube video that I found that's very short but actually shows a light bulb being lit. So here's this video. So you can see that that light bulb was lit, and so that's somewhat my idea of how I'm going to do things. Mine is going to be quite a bit larger, and we have to do series and parallel setups for the light bulbs as well. And then the last video that I used was actually, I believe, was one of the ones that we saw on the Neat resource, and it's this video here about making a solar panel. I did go and purchase all my materials this weekend, and I hope I bought everything correctly. I did go to a lot of different stores. I'm a little concerned that I have all the right stuff, but I'm certainly going to try. I showed you my solar cell pieces last week, but I bought some more things, and I bought a new multimeter because the last one I had didn't seem to be working. I'm going to be using this to make sure that each solar cell is working on its own before I start putting them together into series, because obviously you're limited by the lowest voltage that you can get out of the solar cells themselves. I bought a soldering iron, which I've never soldered before, so we'll see how that goes, and some solder. I have some alligator clips and wires in order to connect to my light bulb bases and light bulbs, which I've got 3, a small base with a small light bulb, and if I can't get the alligator clips to work, since this isn't quite the same as on that video, I'm going to be obviously wrapping the wire underneath the screws that are on this. I bought flux. A lot of the ones that I found, including the website, included the need to use flux before soldering. I couldn't find every video and website that I found so far was asking for tabbing wire, and I couldn't find that. But I did find something called tinned copper bus wire, and that's what I'm going to be using. And then I bought 3 switches, some miniature bat handle toggle switches that I'm going to use when I create my parallel circuits. So that is the rest of the solar panel project. In addition to that, I plan to next week visit the Arizona Science Center in order to complete my cultural science report. I want to get a little bit ahead of the game and get that finished. So that's next week for me. That was really all for the week. I did learn some new things, including with my Neat resource about how solar cells work. It really brought together for me some of the material that we've been covering in class about semiconductors and using silicon and how that's working for solar cells. And it's putting together a lot of what we've learned so far together for me and making it understandable on why we're doing this particular project. So next week, I hope to have my solar panel completed and ready to be presented. Thank you very much.